Hello everyone, welcome to Progressive Soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. I have 3 items for today, but before we start, we have a new president. It is official. Donald Trump secures Electoral College win to become president of the United States. It feels extraordinarily bizarre to say that, but it is absolutely true and somewhat terrifying. So, now, interestingly enough, there was a faithless elector campaign. So the idea was stop Trump. If we could get the electors to throw their votes to somebody else, maybe you can just stop Trump. But that didn't work. In fact, the opposite happened. People voted more against Clinton than actually against Trump. So in Colorado, an elector tried to vote for John Kasich. He was replaced by an alternate. This was one of Clinton's electors. In Hawaii, another Clinton elector cast a vote for Sanders. In Maine, there was a split vote between Bernie and Clinton. In Minnesota, an elector who tried to vote for Bernie Sanders was replaced. In Texas, one voted for Kasich, one voted for Ron Paul. Wow, amazing. In Washington, 4 electors broke ranks to vote against Clinton. 3 voted for Colin Powell. 1 voted for Faith Spotted Eagle. My wife said that was a Native American.
She was a Standing Rock, an activist.
Yeah, she was an environmental activist. All right. Donald Trump is the president. So that leads to the second question. Not even the second question. It's just an interesting side. Elections. And do elections matter? I would say elections matter. I would say the outcome of the election matters a great deal. And if that matters a great deal, then you should at least have this idea that the elections, or the integrity of the elections, is solvent. Well, part of that are recounts. The ability to kind of go back and check the vote. All right, we had the election on this day. We should be able to verify that that election is sound, particularly when the vote is close. Well, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin had feelings about that. A U.S. judge rejects Green Party's Pennsylvania recount request. So, I'm going to quote a few things that the judge said, because his quotes are somewhat comical. It's an election, and I would imagine that in any close election, there should be mechanisms for recount. That shouldn't be partisan. That shouldn't necessarily, be one party versus the other. It should be procedural. Hey, we had this election. This election was maybe 1% difference. Let's recount to make sure that that election is sound. Well, this judge had feelings about that. More importantly, there is no credible evidence that any hack occurred and compelling evidence that Pennsylvania voting system was in any way compromised. Down the road. He also said that the lawsuit suffered from a lack of standing, potentially the lack of federal jurisdiction, and an unexplained, highly prejudicial wait before filing last week's lawsuit. Alright, so first thing, I'm going to start at the end. It took a while for the file a lawsuit because she had to raise the money. That's not highly suspicious. That's not anything. She had to raise the money. She didn't have the money. Second thing, a lack of standing. What? She was a presidential candidate. She was in the race. How do you run in the race and not have a lack of standing to say, hey, I kind of want to recount in this race? All right, fair enough. And then the last thing, more importantly, there's no credible evidence that any hack occurred. And compelling evidence that Pennsylvania voting system was not in any way compromised. All right, so let's talk about that one. Greg Palast. Greg Palast is a sleuth. He's wrote several books dealing with electoral fraud and so forth. And he maintains that there is weirdness in this election. And he maintains it for all 3 states. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. So, going from Detroit, let's talk about Michigan's. The uncounted ballots came mostly from Detroit, Michigan. Let me start from the beginning. Michigan officials declared late November that Trump won the state's count by 10,704 votes. But hold on, a record 75,355 ballots were not counted. The uncounted ballots came from mostly Detroit and Flint, the majority of black cities that vote Democrat. If I'm not mistaken, Hillary Clinton got over 80% of the black vote. According to that, that would mean that she won Michigan. So here's more oddities. According to the machines that read the ballots, these voters waited in line sometimes for hours, but did not choose a president. So Greg Palast went to Detroit, and he did some investigation in regards to the machines that were being used. And what he found were bubbles. You know, it's funny how bureaucratic stuff oftentimes those kinks in the wheel. So in this case, Susan, a systems analyst who took part in hand recount initiated by Jill Stein, told me, I saw a lot of red ink. I saw a lot of check marks. We saw a lot of ballots that weren't originally counted because those don't scan into the machines. So essentially what they're saying is, there was a bubble, and if the person did not fill out the bubble in any particular way, meaning the correct way, the vote gets discarded. So a lot of people's votes weren't counted. An astonishing 87 machines broke down in Michigan, responsible for counting tens of thousands of ballots. Many more were simply faulty and uncalibrated. Some voters left, others filled out ballots that were unchucked, uncounted into the bottom of machines. When the machines was fixed, Carlos explained, any new scanned ballots were falling in on top of the old ones. It would not be possible to recount the dumped ballots. So it's interesting to note here that part of the reason that Michigan got these machines, or got the machines that were kind of junk machines, they couldn't afford new ones. Michigan was essentially in bankruptcy, and they couldn't afford to buy new machines. They requested them. They said, hey, we need our machines fixed. They were denied by the Republican governor. So we find out that apparently Wisconsin has similar machines. And when they were trying to get those votes counted, Jill Stein wanted an I recount. Because people actually do pretty good at saying, hey, somebody voted for Clinton. As opposed to checking it when they didn't necessarily know when it wasn't filled out properly. Come on, man. You can't say you have a functioning democracy if your vote is subject to a bubble. Greg Palast noted that if you were African American, you had a 900% chance of getting your vote tossed than just the average person. In addition, cross-check. So cross-check was a system, again, Republican system, that would go through and it would cross-check names. So it would say Bob Dylan. Hey, there's a Bob Dylan in Michigan. Hey, there's a Bob Dylan in Virginia. So we can cross that guy off the list. Thing is, the names that they were using were like Jackson and Chow and Hernandez, right? They were using names that essentially were ethnic because they realized, in an odd way, all ethnicities other than white vote Democrat. This list was supposed to be secret. Palast got his hands on the list. I forgot where he said where. And look, I would say check them out. This is on truthout.com. I'll put the links at the bottom of the thing, at the bottom of the site.
Of the video.
Of the video, yeah. It's a fascinating read. And just to read this real quick. An eye-popping 499,092 Michiganders were on cross-check suspect lists. The list, which my team uncovered in an investigation for the Rolling Stones, cost approximately 50,000 of the state's voter registrations. Disproportionately purged voters were Black, Latino, and other solid demographics of Muslim Americans. Dearborn, Michigan has the highest concentration of Arab Americans in the United States. That's amazing, man. That is absolutely amazing. And I love this line. It says, so they were talking to Michigan Secretary of State, the person who's, I guess, running this, and told me the purposes of the mass voter purge was to clean our voter lists and ensure that there are no vulnerability for fraud. We've been very aggressive in closing vulnerabilities and loopholes to fraud. I bet you have. So they asked her, they said, hey, since you guys have been so aggressive for it, can you give us a single case? She could not. are no cases. There is no voter fraud. They're making this shit up. Come on, man. Come on, dog. There's no voter fraud. It's look up the stats yourself, man. It's the percentages are so minute. So the idea that these guys are aggressive for voter fraud that doesn't exist, they're purging the rolls. They're trying to get certain people off the voter rolls because it hurts their chances of voting. Amazing. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. If you're going to call it a democracy, then you need mechanisms to check over that democracy. And it shouldn't be to the behest of a party. This should be a procedural thing. The federal government should have a stake in not having parties to be affiliated with this process at all. They can't be trusted. Why am I going to trust a Republican or a Democrat for that matter to run an election that I have a vested stake in winning? What if I'm a Green Party candidate? What if I'm not neither part of that agenda or neither part? Can I honestly think that I'm going to get a fair reading between those two? Come on, man. It's either democracy or it's not. Well, in this case, a representative republic or it's not. And this is not looking like a representative republic. And look, to add to it, I was looking at exit poll data. Exit poll had Clinton winning those states. And this is why it's significant. On an exit poll, when I come out and you say, hey, Aisha Thomas, who did you vote for? And she says, I voted for Clinton, but I wrote in Bernie. Did you know that that vote might not have counted because she wrote in Bernie? She didn't know that. I didn't even know that until today. Because the processor looks at it and reads it and it's like, oh, there's more data here than I need, or there's multiple data here. It doesn't know what to do with it. It kicks it out.
Well, I had to redo it.
Oh, they didn't let you do it?
It didn't. The machine didn't take it. The machine didn't take it at all.
Good machine. But that's
because
ridiculous.
I checked Clinton and also wrote in Bernie.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't even feed through. They were like, D9. I was like, I'm about to get murdered.
I wanted to put in like a proclamation like, I vote Bernie, goddammit. But I wanted Jill Stein to get the 5%. And she got nowhere near the 5%. I wanted to write in Bernie. And I think if in Virginia it might have counted. Look, man. So, exit polling data. Clinton 47 to Trump's 46. Actual. Clinton 47, Trump 49. Where is that? Is that Pennsylvania? That's Florida. In North Carolina, exit polls 48, Trump 46. Actual, Clinton 46, Trump 49. Ouch. Pennsylvania, Clinton 50.5, Trump 46.1. Actual in Pennsylvania 47.6, Trump 48.8. Wisconsin 48.2, exit polls 44.3, Clinton 47.6, Trump 48.1. She lost in every last one of the actuals, but won in all of the exit polls. Look, the way we regard other countries, when we're looking at their polling data, I think it's something like 2% variance. There was more than 2% variance in nearly all of these between the exit poll data and the regular data. Based on our own standard that looks slightly fishy. Do I think that this election was stolen? I have no idea. Do I think that our democracy has serious issues in regards to making sure people can vote? Oh yeah. Do I think our election system has horrible ways of dealing with people who are somewhat undesirables? I mean, keep in mind, we have one party that essentially says we do better when people don't vote. So they have a vested interest in making sure people don't vote. Paul Weyrich, he said, I don't want everybody to vote. He says our chances of winning goes up the less people vote. He's right. He's absolutely right. And if that judge is saying that there is no compelling evidence, even if you're saying it wasn't compromised, you gotta admit, there is evidence to recount. And there's evidence. There was many situations where there were hundreds of people who didn't vote for the president. Looks slightly weird, right? Greg Pally's even asked. He says, why would these people stand in line for hours?
But they voted for all of the other options on the ballot.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any sense.
But they wouldn't vote for president. Right. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. Particularly in Flint and Detroit. I can't see it. I can't see it. I mean, I'm sorry, Flint, Michigan, and Flint and Detroit, Michigan. Yeah. Look, I can't see it. That looks a little weird to me. Whether it's bubbles, whether it's anything else, go back to paper ballots. I mean, it's that simple. Like, Jill Stein wanted him to essentially have a human being look at them and say, okay, this is a vote for Clinton, or this is not a vote for Clinton. That's what she wanted. The judge said, no, there's no compelling evidence. Or, like they did in Wisconsin, they'll run them back through the machine. Well, if it didn't register on the machine the first time, why would it register the second time? She wanted somebody to look at it and say, Trump, Clinton. I don't understand why that's such a bad thing to ask for. Do you care what the vote is or not? You're a judge. Your job is to be impartial. It looks like you would say, I don't care. I don't give a shit who wins. I just want the vote to be the integrity of the process. Yeah, that's not what took place. So, Donald Trump, new president of the United States. And just one point. No, he does not have a mandate. He didn't even win the popular vote. He lost by 3 million. How does he have a mandate? I'm sorry. I just heard people saying mandate. Paul Ryan, mandate. As soon as the whole thing ain't there, mandate. That's not a mandate. That doesn't have a mandate at all. Alright. So, the second story. Alright. This is a very nice woman. I met her once. She's cool as hell. So, I want to put that out there first.
Who?
Shannon Fisher. This is her story. It's in the Huffington Post. I'm going to write a story. It was extremely well written. And yes, this is me buttering her up because I'm about to tear these guys anyway. So, take it with a grain of salt. Tom Daschle, Senate Majority Leaders Tom Daschle and Trent Lott talked about their book, Crisis Point, Why We Must and How We Can Overcome Broken Politics in Washington and Across America. And I read this article, and it was well written. Alright. There's one interesting part I want to hit first, and then I'll go back to my main point. Neither the side has clean hands on the stalemate that has formed surrounding SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States seat vacant upon the passage of Justice Scalia. What they do at their own peril, said Daschle. There is no political advantage of not doing things. That seems to be all they did for the past 8 years. They didn't do anything. Republicans didn't do squat. In fact, on the night Obama was inaugurated, they were essentially in a room. All of them were talking and made the decision to have unyielding opposition to everything. Do you know that the healthcare plan that Obama passed was a Heritage Foundation plan? The Heritage Foundation is a deeply conservative foundation. They call it a think tank. It's not a think tank. It's just something they use to push out ridiculous ideas into the public. Unyielding opposition. So the idea he can say, there is no political advantage of not doing things. That doesn't seem to be proven out by the evidence. I mean, to be honest, when Obama went in, he had House, Senate, supermajority in the Senate, and he won as the presidency. Also, the interesting part is, neither side of the aisle has clean hands with the stalemate that is formed surrounding the SCOTUS. What the hell do you mean neither side has clean hands? Yeah, no. One side has clean hands, the other has very dirty hands. It is their job to review and choose a Supreme Court pick. The president can pick that, make that pick. It's in the Constitution. Look it up. The president has that authority. These guys had gotten to the point where saying, when they thought Hillary was going to win, oh, we don't need a Supreme Court. We can just chuck it. I'm okay with the Supreme Court having 3-3. Even John McCain, a friend of mine said, yeah, John McCain is a sensible one. I said, do you know who said that they could just chuck the Supreme Court? Who? John McCain. Whether they have clean hands or not, you have to admit, one side is dirtier than the other. And in this case, the Republicans have said, we don't even want to hear who the president wants. We do not care who the president wants. We do not even want to talk about this issue. This issue is closed until after the election. And they let that seat go vacant for a year. The idea that either one of these guys are having this conversation is outside the bounds of reality. It just is. I don't know what he's talking about right there. And it gets worse. So the worst part is in reading this. You know, they have all these high-minded ideas and everything else. Politics is not high-minded. At least not now. It's pretty basic and pretty simple. I give you cash, you do what I want you to do. It's that simple. I don't know what these guys are talking about. And in the entire conversation, I didn't hear one word mentioned about cash. Nobody said anything about money. They believe that they can fix the broken divide and offer solutions without even mentioning money. They don't even mention the corrupting influence of cash. How can I take this seriously if they can't even do that? So, I wanted to show this guy. Where is he? That's not what I wanted to show. Babe,
what are we doing?
Babe, what happened? What's happening?
What are you doing?
Damn it. Alright. This guy. Here we are. Alright, so 60-minute fundraiser demands turning lawmakers into telemarketers. So one of the guys, his name was Representative Jolly. He came out.
Jolly?
His name was Jolly, yeah. Yeah, here it is. David Jolly. Came to Washington after winning a special election in 2014, and he was surprised. But what he was told was his number one priority: fundraising. Your job is to sit in a booth 70% of the day and earn cash. Make calls, pay for play. That was his job. And Jolly kind of came out and was like, that's my job? Your job, new member of Congress, is to raise $18,000 a day. Your first responsibility is to make sure you hit your $18,000 a day mark. That's your job. Your job isn't governance. Yeah, you'll get to that. But your job is to make that
money.
Cash. Make that money. Because, and look, there's a logic to it. In Senate seats, and Senate and House of Representative seats, the person with the most cash wins like over 90% of the elections. So if you can hit your benchmarks, you have a 90% chance of winning. So if that's your reality, if your reality is, I need to get as much cash as necessary to win my race, because really, cash is the thing that makes my race. Are you now still having high-minded conversations about politics? Is it really about politics at that point? Or is it really about who's paying me? Who's giving me that cash? Hey, I need you to do something. Donald Trump made this really great statement. He says, I gave them money, and when I called, they picked up the phone. I believe him. I mean, after all, he said his main job is to fundraise. If that's your main job, then everything else is subservient to you fundraising, right? Wouldn't that include political favors? I mean, wouldn't that include voting particular ways that maybe your party wouldn't necessarily espouse your values? So if you're a small government Republican, what are you doing voting for this bloated military? Or what are you doing trying to invade people's space in regards to, their sexual preferences? I mean, come on. $18,000 a day. So what do these guys do when they're making millions from people? Like when they're getting $7.5 million checks, $10 million checks. What are you willing to do for that cash, particularly if it's a thing that helps you win elections? So when I look at this book, or this article, and I don't see it, my first thought is, what are they talking about? How are you ignoring the elephant in the room? I know a lot of times mainstream news guys, when they're having their talks, they talk about donations as if it's the thing that determines a viability of a candidate. If you're talking about bribes as the thing that determines the viability of a candidate, what do you think he's going to do for those bribes? I keep saying it just seems so ridiculous to me that they call these donations. But hey, whatever. It's an interesting read.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's an interesting
camera
read.
malfunction.
I think people should read it. I do think the one thing they need to inject in is, where's the talk about cash? If you're not talking about cash, you're not talking about politics. And these guys aren't talking about cash. That sounds bad, but that's true. I swear to God, I mean you no harm. I'm just saying, these guys are saying a lot of stuff that have nothing to do with reality. If you're going to have a conversation about politics, the first thing you have to have a conversation about is, who's paying the person. But look, let me put it this way. If you want to know how a person's going to vote, you look at who's paying them. Hands down. You look at who's paying them. I'm going to give you a bunch of money. The public is not really paying attention to you because the public is so busy living their lives. So I'm giving you a bunch of money. Who are you going to respond to? The person who's giving you a bunch of money, me, who's paying attention to you, or the guy who's working just a shitty job, just trying to keep his family going, and who's not paying attention to this politician. This politician is going to take that money and it's going to run ads giving a false narrative to the person who essentially, about the person who just bribed him, to get this guy to vote for him. All right. And last story. What's wrong? Hands tired. Alright, last story. I'll make it quick. So in one of my other videos, I noted that many of the people that Trump were bringing to his cabinet were like millionaire, billionaires, and many of them had no association at all to anything. Like, many of these guys had no role ever in governance, and yet they were put in the government. Like, one guy suing the EPA, he put him in charge of the EPA. That's kind of strange. So I quoted, well, not quoted, but I noted in my other video, it sounds like I would bet anything that these guys were paying Trump, or that these guys had given donations. And what do you know? 6 donors that Trump appointed gave more than almost $12,000 with their families back.
12 million.
Campaign. That's what's that, 12 million.
You said 12,000.
12 million, I'm sorry, 12 million. Alright, so let's see who's paying him. Alright. Now, the interesting part here is he was putting people in positions that actually required work. Like, Democrats have done this in the past, but when Democrats have done it, it's for like...
It's just a name.
Right, it's like ambassador to London, or ambassador to Sweden, you know. Doesn't mean anything. You gave me money for my campaign, so I'm rewarding you with an ambassadorship. Good job. But in this case, Treasury Secretary, this guy's gave $425,000. And... Treasury Secretary. Alright, Labor Secretary, Andrew Putster. Yeah, this is the Putz guy. So Putster was the guy who worked, I think, at Carl's Burgers or something.
The Hardee's owner.
Yeah, he was against the minimum wage.
I thought he was in charge of small business.
He is in charge of small business, and he's against the minimum wage. Amazing. Alright, Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross. Being an investor from an early financial support of Ross' campaign. Again, this is weird. He donates $200,000. Linda McMahon, if I'm not mistaken, donated $7 million. Yeah, $7.5 million. Small business administrator.
McMahon. Oh, she's the one from the
wrestler.
WWE.
Yeah, the wrestler. Is that where we're at now? Where people who donate to political campaigns essentially get jobs in politics? So if I'm a billionaire, I can give you a bunch of money, and you just put me in a position, and I could just, enrich myself off the government dime because I'm in that particular position. Draining the swamp my ass. These guys are alligators, man. It's like they have sharks that are coked up with laser beams. There is no way this has anything to do with draining the swamp. This is the bottom. Come on, man. Come on. Trump supporters. Come on. You gotta admit, this looks bad. This looks bad. If you're talking about draining the swamp, do you really think these guys are in there to drain the swamp? Alright. I'll end it here. Have a good one, guys.